Discouraged widow's life-changing choice revealed, rancher offers unexpected home. A touching story. The bakery was empty, its once warm, inviting aromas now replaced by the cold bite of discouragement. Mary, a 34-year-old widow, stood amidst flour-dusted countertops and darkened oven trays, her heart heavy with loss. Just a year ago, laughter colored her world, filling the spacious shop with joy and warmth. Now, dreams crumbled like stale bread, leaving her achingly aware of the weight of her struggles. The memories of her late husband, a celebrated war hero, stirred every time the door opened, lending a cruel reminder of joy that echoed through the empty room. In the rural town of Billings, Montana, where families thrived like wildflowers, Mary felt a raw isolation that made her feel invisible. The joyful chatter outside was a sharp contrast to the silence of her bakery. The whispers began soon after her husband's death, judgments lurking in the soft breeze, suffocating her every move. Tension tightened in her chest as she knelt over dough, envisioning her bakery as a symbol of resilience, a tribute to her husband's honorable memory. Instead, the bills piled up, and her dreams faded, shoving her further into despair. Then came the snow, thick and heavy, draping a white blanket over the lonely streets. That's when Jake appeared, rugged and kind-hearted, with a warmth that chased away the chill. He carried his own burdens, memories of a lost love etched across his face. He watched Mary wrestle with her grief, sensing her rising desperation. When he offered her the chance to breathe new life into his family ranch, pride clashed with the reality of her plight. To let go of her past and step into the unknown felt like a betrayal. Yet, the image of her children chasing butterflies across vibrant pastures sparked an ember of hope within her. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The idea of embracing the ranch was frightening yet freeing. Could this rugged refuge be the balm for her aching spirit? The air thick with uncertainty, Mary battled inner demons of doubt and skepticism while keeping a brave face for her children. They needed stability now more than ever. But the choice was monumental. Could she truly uproot her life and learn to cultivate hope in a place whose whispers often dripped with judgment? As she transitioned from kneading dough to tilling soil, a fresh perspective blossomed. The ranch demanded tireless work, a healing sweat that awakened long-buried dreams. Each furrow turned, each seed planted anchored her to the imagined future. Unbeknownst to her, a bond with Jake began to blossom, carried softly on the winds of new beginnings, yet tension still loomed. Would Mary's choice be considered a shameful handout, or could it spark a newfound strength within her community? Her heart raced, caught between the past and an uncertain future. As she stepped into a life filled with challenges, the townsfolk watched, waiting to see if she could rise from the ashes of grief. The winds of change stirred restlessly, and with every deep breath, hope intertwined with fear, leaving her standing at the precipice of possibility. Would she find the courage to redefine her life and carve out a place in this new world? The answer loomed just as tantalizingly as the ranch's horizon, waiting to be discovered. Mary woke to the soft, filtered light of morning seeping through the dusty window of the ranch house. It was a new day, yet the weight of yesterday still clung to her. As she climbed out of bed, she felt nervous energy coursing through her veins, the anxiety of what lay ahead mingling with a simmering excitement. The ranch was awakening, too, as the chorus of roosters announced the dawn. Mary joined her children in the kitchen, where they dug into a simple breakfast. Her heart swelled with pride as she watched them, their laughter breaking through the remnants of grief that lingered, a testament to life's resilience. They were adjusting, adapting to their new world just as she was. After breakfast, she gathered her courage and stepped outside. The air was crisp, with the tantalizing scent of fresh earth and pine dust. It was time to get to work. As she wandered across the sprawling fields, Mary felt a tug of uncertainty mixed with determination. Ranching was new to her, but she had a fierce spirit ignited by the hope of making a home. When she reached the garden Jake had shown her, she knelt down, hands deep in the soil, feeling instantly connected to the earth. The feeling was liberating. She began with something small. She planted seeds for her favorite flowers, hoping they would blossom into a reminder of the beauty she longed to cultivate in her life. Each seed became a promise, a new beginning. "Hey there. You're really getting your hands dirty." Jake's laughter rang out, pulling her from her thoughts. He stood nearby, leaning against the fence with an encouraging smile. It made her heart skip a beat. It was a warmth she hadn't expected, and the way he watched her, with respect and admiration, made her feel seen again. Mary chuckled softly, brushing dirt off her hands. "Just trying to grow something beautiful." Their eyes met, and for a moment, the weight of the world slipped away. She realized how much she craved this connection to him, to the land, to a future she feared yet yearned for. "Can I help?" he offered, stepping closer, his rugged hands strong and ready. Together, they worked side by side. He shared tips on cultivating the soil while she listened intently, a blossoming friendship taking root amidst the shared sweat and dirt. But as the day wore on, shadows loomed near the edges of her contentment. Mary was still aware of the whispers that followed her, how they might perceive this new chapter. In a small town, news spread fast. What would they think of her stepping away from her bakery, away from the memories of her husband? Could she bear their judgment? Mary paused, looking out across the horizon where the endless fields met the cobalt sky. It felt different here, brimming with promise. Jake's presence next to her brought a quiet reassurance. "I believe in you, Mary," he said softly, his voice almost lost in the rustling wind. "You've got strength. You just need to trust yourself." His words lingered in the air, profound yet simple, something she desperately needed to hear. Yet as hope flickered in her heart, it was tempered by the faint echo of doubt. Could she really navigate this new life? Would her children find happiness here? And what of the judgments that still sang just below the surface? As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue across the landscape, she felt hope bubbling beneath her worries. But then her gaze fell upon the old barn, weathered yet standing tall, its doors slightly ajar, inviting and mysterious. What secrets did it hold? With a heart full of questions and an unquenchable thirst for transformation, Mary knew she had to step inside. What she might find hidden within could change everything. Mary stepped toward the barn, each footfall echoing with uncertainty and possibility. The wooden structure loomed before her, a sentinel of memories both sweet and sorrowful. As she creaked open the door, a musty scent wafted around her, tinged with the unmistakable aroma of hay. Dust motes danced in the fading light, creating a hazy glow. Inside, it felt like time had paused. Old tools with rusted edges hung from the walls, and the sunlight spilled through cracks, illuminating forgotten corners. She hesitated, wondering what she might uncover. The air was thick with untold stories. Perhaps this place was just as lost as she felt. With the wavering courage of a heart still healing, she stepped deeper inside. Her fingers grazed the surfaces of old barrels and weathered crates. Every touch was a reminder of the things that had come before her. She knelt on the hay-covered floor, letting her hands sift through the straw. It felt grounding, like a reassurance that life continues amidst decay. Then, her gaze caught on something shiny near the back wall. Intrigued, she moved closer and uncovered an old, tarnished mirror wedged between two wooden beams. As she lifted it, dust billowed like a cloud around her. She brushed it clean with her sleeve, revealing her own reflection, tired eyes and a crooked smile that dared to speak of hope. "Who are you trying to be?" she whispered to herself. A flicker of vulnerability washed over her. The truth was, she was still finding her footing in a world that felt new and heavy all at once. This mirror, once bright, now muted, reflected her own journey, a blend of shadows and light. As if on cue, Jake's voice echoed from outside. "Mary. You all right in there?" She blinked, startled back to reality. Gathering her thoughts, she called out, "I'm fine. Just exploring." A smile crept onto her face. He always had a way of pulling her back from the edge of her doubts. When she stepped back outside, the last rays of sunlight kissed the earth. There he was, standing against the barn, his eyes holding a warm glow. "I thought I lost you," he teased lightly, but his concern was evident. "I got caught up," she admitted, her heart fluttering. "There's so much to discover around here, in myself too." "I know the feeling," Jake replied, his expression softening. "This place has a way of reminding us who we are." Mary felt a connection surge between them, a shared understanding of past burdens and the potential for new beginnings. She wondered if he felt it too, the quiet electricity that flickered in the space they shared. But soon, her internal storm returned. What did this friendship mean? Could she truly allow herself to lean on him? The town would certainly talk. Thoughts swirled like leaves in the gusty wind. "Do you ever worry about how people will see you?" she asked, vulnerability creeping into her voice. "About what they'll think of this?" Jake's expression shifted, growing serious. "You can't let others decide your worth. You've got to choose for yourself." His words, stark and honest, settled into her mind. She wanted to believe him, to trust in this new perspective, but could she really step away from the shadows of others' judgments? Mary looked toward the horizon, where the sun dipped below the fields, engulfing everything in a warm embrace. It whispered of possibilities, of the dreams she had almost forgotten. With a newfound resolve, she turned back to Jake. "Maybe it's time I stop being afraid to really embrace this life. This ranch." He nodded, a smile lighting his face, making her heart race with excitement. Just then, a loud crash echoed from inside the barn. Both their heads whipped around, concern pooling in their eyes. "What was that?" she asked, her heart pounding. "I don't know," he replied, urgency creeping into his voice. "Let's check it out." Together, they rushed toward the barn, and Mary felt an unfamiliar thrill run down her spine. The evening held secrets yet to be unveiled, and she was ready to face them. What awaited them in the shadows of that barn? As they approached the barn, shadows loomed larger in the fading light, gripping at Mary's heart. Each step quickened her pulse, she felt a wild mixture of apprehension and the longing for discovery. What secret lay hidden, waiting to be uncovered? "Stay close," Jake said, the softness in his voice both calming and commanding. They crossed the threshold together, the door creaking in protest, echoing the unease that rattled in the pit of her stomach. The interior was dim, but as Jake switched on a small lantern, its glow pushed back the darkness, illuminating the chaos. Hay bales spilled onto the floor, and a few old crates had toppled over. In the midst of the ruins, Mary's eyes were drawn to a figure, a feral cat darting away, spooked by their sudden presence. "Just a cat," she breathed, letting out a nervous laugh, the tension easing somewhat with the realization. Yet she felt a chill creeping back in, a sensation that hinted this place held far more than mere remnants of the past. They began to reorganize the fallen crates, their hands working together in a rhythm that felt instinctual. Mary felt the warmth of Jake's shoulder brush against hers, and for a moment, all her fears about judgment faded. Together, they were just two souls trying to reclaim something lost, building a new story with each motion. "What if we found something cool?" Jake said, grinning as he lifted an ancient plow. Dirt and rust coated it, but to Mary, this find felt richer than any treasure. It was a piece of history, years of labor, the struggles and triumphs of those who had come before. "Maybe we can restore it," she proposed, the words escaping her lips before she could think them through. His eyes sparkled with excitement. "Why not? We could use it to teach kids about farming or just bring a bit of life back here." She nodded, the idea igniting a flicker of passion within her. This barn, once a tomb for forgotten relics, could become a place of warmth and laughter. It could breathe again with purpose. But then that flicker dimmed, and doubts crashed over her like a storm. Will anyone really care? Who cares what they think? Jake's voice broke through her turmoil, firm yet gentle. "We can create our own community, our own life here. It's not about them. It's about you and me. Mary searched Jake's eyes, feeling the intensity of his gaze wrap around her, pulling her into hope. Still, the specter of their small-town judgments loomed large. The words of the townsfolk echoed in her mind. Divorce, death, moving on. Could she truly redefine their stories? Okay, she whispered, heart pounding anew. Let us do it. Emboldened, they continued digging through the remaining items in the barn, setting aside anything they believed could be salvaged. Each artifact, every fragment uncovered felt like a piece of herself rising out of the depths, a representation of her choices forged anew, but amidst the excitement, a nagging thought brushed against her consciousness. There was a weight behind her resolution. If she embraced this new life, what would she have to let go of? Would she risk the whispers of a small town that thrived on gossip? Just as this swirl of emotions reached a crescendo, a hidden door in the back corner of the barn creaked open, revealing a dark staircase descending into what looked like a cellar. The air that wafted up was musty and cool, filled with a tang of earth and mystery. Mary and Jake exchanged glances, both intrigued and hesitant. Shall we? He asked, a grin dancing on his lips. This could be dangerous, she started, but the thrill of adventure came rushing back. Or life-changing, he countered, a spark in his eyes. Mary felt uncertainty grappling with the longing inside her. What could they find down there? Comfort? Adventure? The answer to her deepest fears. As they stood at the edge of the unknown, the evening lay before them like an uncharted path, brimming with possibilities. Let us go, she said, resolve ringing in her voice. Together, they stepped into the darkness, and with each descending step, Mary felt like she was leaving fear behind, finally. Ready to discover who she could truly become. What awaited them below the surface? Would the shadows hold hope or sorrow? The air grew cooler as Mary and Jake descended the stairs, the lantern casting flickering shadows against the rough stone walls. With each step, the musty scent of earth thickened, swirling around her like a shroud as curiosity battled with unease. The space below felt alive, whispering secrets that had long been buried. When they reached the bottom, the light of the lantern revealed a small, dimly lit room. Shelves lined the walls, filled with dust-covered jars, old farming tools, and peculiar trinkets that felt forgotten and out of time. There was a small table in the center, its surface marred with scratches and stains, evidence of a life once bustling with activity. Look at this, Jake's voice trailed off as he bent down, reaching for a jar filled with something that shimmered faintly in the light. Is it honey? Mary drew closer. The jar's label had long worn away, but the honey inside had preserved itself beautifully, a golden elixir shimmering with potential. It stirred a sense of nostalgia within her, sweet, comforting memories that felt so distant yet close to her heart. Maybe it can be a part of our story too, she mused, imagining their plans for the barn extending beyond restoration. We could sell it at the farmer's market. Now that's an idea. Jake replied, a proud smile spreading across his face. It captures the history of this place. People would love it. The thought filled Mary with excitement, a spark igniting within her as possibilities unfolded. But in the back of her mind, doubt still loomed, cold and gnawing. Could they truly bring life back to this barn? Could they craft a place of community and connection in a world so often driven by judgment? Look here, Jake interrupted her spiraling thoughts, holding up a dusty old photograph. As he wiped it clean, a grainy image appeared, a family standing proudly in front of the barn, smiles wide, their joy evident. They must have poured their hearts into this place. Mary took the photograph, tracing the outlines with her fingers. The warmth of those smiles resonated deep within her. They were not just faces, they were dreams, aspirations, life woven together in this very space. What happened to them? She wondered aloud, her heart heavy. Did they lose it all, too? Maybe Jake's voice dipped, empathy filling the silence between them. He stepped closer, and his presence felt grounding. But we're not them. We have a chance to create something new, something that honors the past while building our future. Mary's heart pounded. Could they really unearth a connection to the townsfolk? Could they redefine themselves in the eyes of those who had written them off? The thought filled her with both excitement and fear. They explored the rest of the cellar, their discoveries sparking conversations about plans for the barn, dreams about the community they could build. Each moment filled with laughter muted the voices of doubt that crept back in the corners of her mind, but even as hope surged, something pulled at her thoughts. This newfound purpose, what sacrifices would it demand? What old shadows might resurface? Then, from the far corner of the cellar, something caught Jake's eye, a faded journal, half buried under old blankets. "Hey, Mary! Check this out," he called out, curiosity lacing his tone. As she stepped closer, dread began to mix with anticipation. What stories lay hidden within those pages? Would they hold the key to unlocking deeper secrets of this place and perhaps, of herself? With trembling hands, she prepared to open the journal, her heart racing at what revelations might lie ahead. What if this journal carried tales of loss, of struggle, or worse yet, of dreams unfulfilled? Would they be able to face the ghosts of the past as they forged their own future? The moment hung in the air, thick with promise and trepidation, as light danced around them, waiting for the truth to be unveiled. With her heart pounding in rhythm with her breath, Mary opened the faded journal. The pages felt fragile under her fingertips, each turn releasing a faint scent of time. Words, penned in a looping script, flowed like whispered memories. She leaned in, drawn closer to the whispers of the past. The first entry was dated many years ago. It spoke of the joy of harvests, of laughter echoing through the barn, and of a family's dream woven tightly with the fabric of the land. As she read on, the words painted vivid scenes: children running through the fields, the warm glow of sunset spilling over the dirt roads, and neighbors coming together for square dances, joy stitched into every corner. Each stroke of the pen breathed life into a forgotten time, a time of unity and passion, but the tone shifted. As Mary sifted through the pages, heartbreak settled in like a heavy mist. Descriptions of loss began to creep in: deaths, departures, a gradual fading of the once vibrant community. Her heart ached for the family that had poured their souls into the very walls that surrounded her now. What had once been a haven transformed into a mere shell, echoing with memories of joy now tinged with sorrow. Jake, kneeling beside her, read over her shoulder. "Look at this," he murmured, pointing to a passage that spoke of a promised future, a new beginning encapsulated in the innocence of family life. They were determined to rebuild. They wanted to make it work. "I can feel their hopes," Mary whispered. As she turned the next page, the ink blurred with age, and she sensed tears behind the words: dreams suspended, hanging on the precipice of an unseen end. The final entry was disjointed, a frantic scrawl that filled her with dread. It spoke of choices, of desperate measures to preserve what little remained. "What if we're walking into something we can't handle?" Mary asked, her voice a trembling reflection of her fear. "What if these dreams are just ghosts on the wind?" Jake took a breath, his eyes locked onto hers, steady and comforting. "It's up to us to redefine this. We can take those dreams and breathe new life into them." They believed in possibilities just as much as we do. As Mary processed his words, doubt struggled with hope within her. If they were to revive this space, would they too face the weight of loss? Memories of her own past whispered, weaving through her distractions. She remembered days spent in her grandmother's garden, where laughter filled the air. Was she ready to embrace the joys and pains that came with rebuilding? "It's about more than just this barn," she said, her voice low yet resolute. "It's about the people, their stories." Jake nodded, understanding flashing in his eyes. "And we're part of it now. We can start a new chapter." Emboldened by their shared resolve, Mary looked beyond the journal, imagining families gathering, children laughing, and echoes of music filling the air once again. But the burden of fear lingered, a solemn reminder of the shadows that might still haunt this place. Just then, a sudden sound broke through their reverie, the rustle of paper. Startled, they turned to find another journal lying on the table, open slightly, as if someone had been reading it moments before. The title caught her eye: "The Heart of the Barn." What if it holds even more secrets? Jake asked, moving to investigate further. Mary felt the chill of uncertainty flood back. Could they truly embrace the past without it crushing them? As they edged closer to the other journal, the room seemed to pulse with anticipation, shadows flickering around them, hinting at more buried truths waiting to be unearthed. And just like that, as she reached out to touch it, questions raced in her mind. What depths would they plunge into? And would the answers they found be a blessing or a curse? Mary's fingers brushed against the worn leather cover of the second journal. The anticipation hung in the air like a tension-filled string ready to snap. With a deep breath, she opened it, and a cascade of emotions washed over her again. The first few pages were adorned with sketches, an artist's naive attempt to capture joy. There were images of the barn bathed in sunlight, children playing tag, and scenes of families sharing meals under the old oak tree that still stood tall outside. As she turned each page, the sketches seemed to leap from the paper, pulling her into a world where hope was palpable. Then, without warning, the illustrations shifted from picnic scenes to darker imagery: storm clouds, the barn doors swinging wide, and silhouettes of figures hunched in despair. The sketches became jagged, each line more distressed than the last. They depicted a family hanging on by threads, clinging to memories as the weight of loss pressed down like an insurmountable burden. Who was the artist? Jake asked quietly, as if he were worried the very question might disturb the ghosts that lingered in the barn. Mary frowned. Someone who loved this place, just like we do. But the pain seeped in her heart. She felt that pain too. It was a mirror reflecting her own fears. Her husband's absence felt so raw. She didn't just want to breathe new life into this barn, she craved a place where she'd feel safe enough to dream again. She continued reading, diving deeper into the artist's narrative. Hatred and fear were intertwined with love, grappling with loss while desperately attempting to preserve hope. There, in between paragraphs, Mary found a quote that struck her like lightning: "To rebuild is to remember, but it is also to transform." "That's it," she murmured, feeling the words pulse in her chest. "It's not just about bringing the past back. It's about letting it shape us into something new." Jake nodded, a smile creeping onto his face. "Exactly. We can honor their memories and, in doing so, create our own very different ones." With renewed determination, Mary turned the pages faster, each new sketch revealing how the family struggled against the storm that tried to tear them apart. Moreover, each line whispered of resilience. For every loss, there was a new beginning waiting to flourish. The air around them shimmered with the possibility of renewal. Mary felt Jake's presence beside her, a steady warmth that acted as an anchor. They were not alone in this endeavor. "We can do this," she said, her voice rising with excitement. "We can carry their stories forward, but we need to make our own choices along the way, don't we?" Just then, a cold breeze swept through the barn, rustling the pages and sending both journals fluttering like trapped birds. The sensation sent a shiver down her spine, blending apprehension with an electrifying thrill. In that moment, she knew they stood at the edge of something monumental, a crossing point between the past and what was yet to come. "What do you think is next for us?" Jake asked, his voice steady despite the eerie sounds around them. Mary took a breath, feeling the weight of history hovering around her. "I think," she began, but suddenly her gaze was caught by something glinting out of the corner of her eye on the workbench nearby. Curious, she stepped away from Jake and the journals to investigate. What could it be? Was it another piece of the history they were trying to rebuild, or perhaps a sign of the challenges ahead? The moment hung delicately in the air, and as she reached for the object, she couldn't shake the feeling that it would change everything once again. What awaited her in that glimmer? The answer seemed crucial, a stepping stone to the future she desperately wanted to build. Mary's heart raced as she grabbed the glimmering object. It was a small key, etched with intricate designs almost delicate in its appearance. She turned it over in her hand, feeling its coolness against her palm. Memories of the barn filled her mind. Was it possible that this key unlocked something significant, something relating to the past hidden within the weathered walls? "Mary?" Jake's voice broke through her thoughts, tense with curiosity. She lifted her eyes to meet his, excitement and uncertainty warring within her. "I think I found a key," she said. But to what I have no idea. What do you think it opens? He asked, stepping closer, intrigued. With a determined nod, she glanced around the barn. The planks creaked beneath her feet, whispering old secrets. Was there a hidden door? A long-forgotten chest? A place where memories might be hidden? Let us find out, Mary said. We need to explore. She felt a sudden surge of determination, almost as if the key pulsed with a life force of its own. They started their search, prowling around the barn, poking into every nook and cranny. Dust motes danced in the shafts of sunlight streaming through the aged wood. With each step, the history of the place seeped into her like a warm embrace. There's a cabinet over here, Jake called, his voice echoing in the otherwise quiet space. He brushed away layers of dust, revealing an old lock, tarnished yet promising. Mary hurried to his side, breathless with hope. This could be it. She fit the key into the lock. It slid in smoothly, as though it had waited for this moment all along. With a deep breath, she turned the key. The latch clicked open, and a thrill surged through her. Jake stepped back, eyes wide with anticipation. Go ahead, open it. Mary pulled the cabinet door, revealing stacks of faded letters and photographs carefully tucked away. Some were tied with weathered twine, others seemed to spill over with memories. She reached in, fingers trembling as she took out a bundle of letters that looked worn from time. What are they? Jake leaned over, peering at the fragile pages. I think they're letters from. Her voice faltered. Curiosity bubbled within her, along with emotions that threatened to overflow. She began to read aloud, the faint letters dancing as her voice brought them to life. Each word painted a portrait of love lost, hopes dashed, and dreams that lingered like ghosts. As she read, she felt the weight of another's grief merge with hers. A part of her, nurtured by these words, began to heal. They were echoes from the past, messages from a time when love burned bright despite darkness looming above. Mary Jake's voice broke into her thoughts again, softer this time. You're tearing up. She quickly wiped her eyes, a mixture of sadness and hope swirling inside. It's just their stories. They remind me of everything I've lost, yet there's something powerful about them. As she sifted through the papers, one letter caught her attention more than the rest. It was addressed to someone named Ellen, filled with promises of better days ahead and the strength to rebuild. The final lines read, even in despair, love's roots run deep. Let them guide you home. Mary's heart skipped a bit. This feels connected to us. Jake nodded thoughtfully, his expression contemplative. Like they want us to find our way too. They exchanged a glance, their shared bond strengthening. The words on the pages ignited a sense of purpose. The barn was more than a building, it was a sanctuary of stories longing to be honored. But as they continued to read, a phrase felt like an echo against the walls, forcing her thoughts to spin. What would they do with this fragile knowledge? How could they honor these voices while facing their own struggles? Mary shut her eyes, taking a deep breath, feeling the shift of emotions within her. Ready to uncover more? Jake asked, a spark of excitement in his eyes. Yes, she replied, resolute. Whatever lay ahead, she knew, was vital for both the past and their future. As they began to sort through the letters and photographs, Mary couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the brink of something life-changing. What else awaited them in that cabinet? Would these discoveries bring them closer to their own healing, or reveal the deeper scars they still carried? As Mary sifted through the letters, the world outside faded, replaced by the stories of lives that had once thrived here. Each letter pulled her further into the past, and with each crinkled page she unwrapped, the barn transformed from a simple structure into a treasure trove of emotion and history. Jake rested against a nearby beam, a quiet observer, but she could feel his anticipation humming in the air. He had been so patient, supportive. It made her grateful, somehow lightened by the presence of someone who shared in this journey. I feel like we're uncovering secrets meant just for us, Mary murmured, her voice almost a whisper. She opened a letter stamped with an elegant crest, her fingers brushing over the faded ink. These people had lives filled with love, struggle, losses. It's like I can hear their voices. The sunbeams glanced off the dust, catching motes like tiny stars. The barn had become enchanted, alive with the echoes of the past. Have you ever thought about the secrets your family might have? Jake asked, breaking the spell. I mean, every family has something hidden, a story or a heartache. Mary paused to consider. My parents didn't tell me much about their past. They were always so focused on the present, you know. She kept her voice light, but her heart tugged at the memory. It's like they wanted to shield me from their challenges. Maybe that's the point, Jake said. They wanted you to create your own story, to live your life free of their burdens. She nodded, mulling over his words. The thought comforted her in an odd way, but it also stirred something deeper, tugging at a fear she had only begun to recognize. What if that was just it? What if they hadn't simply hidden their stories but rather buried them beneath layers of unspoken pain? Their voices quieted, and Mary's gaze shifted back to the letters. She was drawn to one in particular, cradled in the dust as if it held its breath. Carefully, she reached for it, unraveling the twine that had held it together for so long. The paper was fragile, like a secret waiting to be revealed. With every word she read, emotions swirled in her chest. The letter spoke of a longing for connection, a plea for understanding amidst chaos. It revealed a woman named Ellen, yearning for something beyond her reach, a love that slipped through her fingers like grains of sand. Mary Jake spoke hesitantly as she'd read out loud, their bond solidifying with every heartbeat. This is beautiful and heartbreaking. It's like she is speaking to you. It feels so unfair, she confessed, absently wiping a tear from her cheek. She was so close, yet so far from what she wanted. It makes me think about my own desires and the mistakes I've made. Maybe it's not too late for either of us, he said gently, his blue eyes locking onto hers. These letters, they remind us that love, loss, and finding your way back home, it's all part of life's journey. Mary felt a flicker of light within her clouded heart. What if Ellen's story was meant for her? What if the letters were nudging her toward the courage to face her own life choices? The barn grew still, the weight of her thoughts pressing down. It was like the very air held its breath alongside her. That's why we need to keep going, Mary declared, stirring with newfound energy. We can honor these stories by digging deeper. There has to be more to uncover. Jake agreed with a nod, but just as she hunted for another letter, a sudden noise outside made them both freeze. A shadow moved across the doorway, the silhouette of someone unrecognizable against the afternoon sun. Who is that? Jake whispered, inching toward the door, concern etched on his features. Mary felt a chill sweep through her. I don't know. Should we hide? But curiosity took hold, and instead of backing down, she stepped forward. No. We need to see. What if it's someone from the past or someone connected to these letters? As the figure stepped into focus, unease danced in the air, setting her heart racing once more. What awaited them wasn't just a stranger, but perhaps a link to everything they had uncovered. With each pulse of fear and excitement, Mary realized that whatever was coming next would shake the very foundation of what they thought they knew. Ready? She whispered to Jake, anticipation building. What if they have their own story to tell us? He replied, his voice firm. They shared a single breath, then took a step forward together, ready to face whatever awaited them in the doorway. The past wasn't done with them yet, it had more to reveal, and this time, they were ready to listen. As the figure stepped fully into the barn's dim light, Mary could hardly breathe. Standing in the doorway was an elderly woman, her face familiar yet unknown. A weathered hat shaded her eyes, but the warmth leaking from her smile brightened the gloom that had settled within the barn. Hello there, the woman said, her voice soft yet strong, like the wind sweeping across the fields. Can we help you? Mary asked, heart racing, sensing a connection that pulsed between them. I'm Doris, the last of the Anderson family who once owned this ranch, the woman replied, her eyes glimmering with a mix of memories and hope. I heard voices inside and thought I'd come see what was happening. Mary exchanged glances with Jake, excitement mingling with trepidation. They hadn't just uncovered artifacts of the past, this was living history greeting them. Doris, we've found letters stories from your family, Jake said, stepping closer. They speak of love and loss. It's all so beautiful and heartbreaking. Doris's expression softened, her eyes glazing with unshed tears. You found my grandmother's letters? Mary nodded, feeling a surge of emotions as she replied, they mean so much to me. I think they can help us understand what this ranch once meant to your family and to us now. Doris stepped inside, removing her hat to reveal silver hair, gleaming under the barn lantern. Thank you for preserving their legacy, she said, a tremor in her voice. This place has been a shell for too long, and the stories it holds are meant to be read and honored. It seems like you two are doing just that. The air between them shifted. With Doris's presence, the barn felt less like a mausoleum of forgotten dreams and more like a cradle of potential. It was never just a building, Mary breathed, glancing around at the remnants of generations past. It was love, the heartbeat of a community that once celebrated life. We want to create a new heartbeat. Her voice trembled with determination. Doris smiled knowingly. You're not just restoring a barn. You're rekindling connections, bridging gaps between what was lost and what can be made new. That's what my family fought to keep alive. Mary's heart raced. Could we work together? With your insights, we could bring everyone back together, make this a place where stories are shared, where love finds a home again. Excitement sparked in her chest, filling the void left by grief. I'd love that, dear, Doris said, eyes twinkling with encouragement. Let me show you my family's history, the generations that built this place. We could revisit the heart of the barn together, reimagine what it can become for this community. As they began to share stories and laughter flowed, Mary felt an overwhelming sense of relief wash over her. The shadows that once clung to her heart began to dissipate. Once just a collection of gathering dust, the barn transformed into a vibrant scene, a lifeline connecting the past to the present and carving the future. In the weeks that followed, the trio worked tirelessly. The townsfolk watched, whispering at first, then gradually drawn into the warmth of the rebirth unfolding within those weathered walls. Each new discovery sparked shared laughter, memories, and even new friendships. Doris shared rich family tales, and they celebrated with social gatherings, laughter echoing once again. Mary found an unexpected lightness in her heart, and as challenges arose, they tackled them together, shoulder to shoulder, rediscovering strength in community. Through it all, Jake remained by her side, their bond deepening amidst merging lives and swirling laughter. He was no longer just the rugged rancher, he had become a partner in her journey of healing and growth. At the barn's grand reopening ceremony, flowers lined the entrance, laughter resonated in the air, and children danced among the wildflowers outside. Today marks more than a new beginning, Mary proclaimed, standing next to Doris and Jake. It's a celebration of resilience, our choice to honor the past as we carve out a future filled with love and connection. A place where every story matters. A roar of applause erupted, reverberating like music through the fields. It reminded Mary of those moments of contentment back in her bakery, but this time the air didn't taste of sorrow. It brimmed with hope, warmth, and joy. As the evening sun dipped low, casting a golden hue over the barn dipped in laughter and light, Mary grasped Jake's hand tightly. They exchanged a look that said everything. It was a promise to face whatever challenges lay ahead together. Each heartbeat in the barn wasn't just a carryover from the past but a new rhythm, one their community would nurture together. The echo of bygone laughter empowered them, intertwining their lives. Mary took in a deep breath, feeling joy wash over her as it had been meant to flourish, free from the shadows that had once clouded her heart. As families filled the space, sharing stories, embracing laughter and memories, Mary finally understood, they had rebuilt not just the barn, but the heart of their town. With this realization, she knew that hope had blossomed amid uncertainty, showing them that love truly plants the seeds of transformation. Now, it was time to share this moment with all who needed to hear it, the message of renewal, love, and finding home. That if you felt this transformation, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help keep these stories alive. Comment below with your feelings about Mary's journey and what new beginnings mean to you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let us spread the love and hope together.